All right. Good evening to all of you who are with us tonight. My name is Mel. I'm a junior here at Syracuse. I'm a double major in Spanish and inclusive elementary and special education. In addition to being a tour guide and working for admission, I play ice hockey here. I'm also a peer advisor in the School of Ed, and I work at a preschool on campus.
Hi everyone, my name's Max. I'm a senior here. I grew up just an hour east of Syracuse University in a tiny place called Waterville. Um, I'm studying civil engineering in my last semester. Besides giving tours on campus, I've been in the concert band and the basketball pep band. I've been an RA, I'm in the honors program. I've been an undergraduate TA for a few semesters now. And for the next hour, we're going to be answering all of your questions, so fire away, and we'll do our best to answer any questions you have.
All right, sounds good. I didn't know you were in honors.
I was,
Uh,
or I am.
how's your capstone going?
Yeah, there's a good reason everyone drops out of the honors program.
I'm trying to stick
It's
with
tough, you gotta stick with it.
I'm
Gotta push
trying.
through.
I'm trying. We will see how it goes. How do you feel as this senior spring semester?
Oh, it's a little daunting. I'm sure I feel like a lot of our viewers out there that are wondering what they're going to be doing next semester. So, as of now, I only have one major plan and very few backup plans. So,
What's the major plan?
I'd like to join the Civil Engineer Corps in the United
Wow.
States Navy. Yeah, so I'm waiting to hear whether or not I'm selected for officer candidate school.
That would be a great opportunity for sure.
Yeah, excited.
I am going to student teach in New York City in the fall, so that's my next adventure.
Wow, good for you.
Yes.
We have no questions, so if you're watching but haven't asked a question yet, feel free.
Definitely. We could probably chat all night, but hopefully we'll have something to answer. Oh my goodness. Well, did you watch the game?
I was just going to ask you, I didn't get to. I was working on a structural analysis project, and it was on in the computer lab, but I didn't get to see it.
You didn't even peek in on it a little?
I did. But I knew we were winning by a lot, as Syracuse, has had a hard time doing this year. We've had a lot of wins, but at least this game didn't cause any anxiety like so many have this year.
I know, seriously, what a relief. I'm pretty sure like all forms of social media were just blowing up about this game.
Yeah, thank goodness we won.
Did you do a bracket?
I had a crazy week. I wanted to, and I didn't get to. I hear everyone's making two brackets, one with Syracuse winning and another one with Syracuse winning, of course. So let's hope they're all right.
Seriously, I don't know. It got pretty bad the last couple weeks, so hopefully we can get it together. And we have our first question.
I'm sure everyone would love to hear why we chose SU. You want to answer first?
Sure, I'll answer first. One of my biggest reasons for choosing Syracuse University was because of the program that I'm in the School of Education. It's pretty unique, and I couldn't find it very many other places. And the School of Education is a really tight-knit community, which was something that I was looking for. And of course, as Max and I were just talking about, I was really looking forward to being a part of all of the Syracuse University spirit and pride and bleed orange motto. So that was something I was excited about.
And like Mel, I was excited to join the Syracuse community. My mother is actually a faculty member here, so I grew up on the campus often. I grew up just an hour from here, so I've been watching Syracuse basketball since I was really, really little, and I've always wanted to come here. And then when it came time to apply to college, I was pretty sure I wanted to come to Syracuse, and I applied to a few others, similar engineering programs, and it came down to I wasn't completely certain I wanted to study engineering forever, and someone said, if you go to a school like, I won't name any other schools, I'm not sure if I'll get in trouble for that, but if you go to a school that's predominantly engineering or a tech school and you decide you don't want to study engineering, well then you're kind of limited. You'd have to transfer to another school, whereas Syracuse, there's every possible opportunity you can imagine. We have so many good colleges within the university, and there are opportunities to do everything, from every sport, every club, everything. So that's really why it solidified my decision to come to Syracuse.
Very thorough answer. All right, we have our next question. Is the weather as bad as it sounds? I just recently toured and it was 3 degrees. How much snow falls? How cold does it get? Does it ever interfere with activities? Well, I will start off with this. The weather is not horrible all the time. Does it snow? Yes. Is it windy? Yes. Does it get pretty darn cold? Yes. But you bundle up, you get used to it, you have a little fun with it, like you go sledding, or you can do ice skating at the rink on campus. So there's a lot of winter activities, and that makes it a little bit more fun.
I'll add to that. I'm not a good person to ask because I grew up so close that I'm used to the weather. But I will say this winter's been particularly bad. So if you toured this winter, then you had it worse than most years because there were a couple weeks where it was sub-zero. We do get quite a bit of snow here. At any given time, there could be somewhere between 6 inches to a foot and a half. However, the university is awesome at snow removal, so it never interferes with getting to or from activities. And very rarely, only twice in my college career, but once my freshman year and once this year, have we canceled classes due to snow. So if you come to school here, you'll learn to tough it out and brace the weather.
Absolutely. And I will add to that, another good question we usually get with that is, what kind of stuff should you get to bundle up in the winter here? And it's really, really important. I got myself a nice heavy-duty North Face coat and a nice pair of boots so that your feet can stay warm, and definitely just got to prepare for it.
Yeah, invest the money right up front to get a good pair of boots and a good coat, and then you'll be happier for the whole winter.
And for any of you who might be out there that did tour recently, it has gotten a lot warmer. I think today it hit 40 degrees, and it's been pretty consistent the last couple of days, but I know that's supposed to get a little bit colder, so hopefully not too much. I'm hoping.
Oh, here comes another question.
Alright, the next question is, are there a variety of scholarships for everyone that can help you with the college expenses? So, this is definitely a question that you want to also ask an admission counselor here, and you can do that by emailing orange@syr.edu. However, we'll give you kind of the basic synopsis of this. There are two forms of financial aid that you can receive. One is through merit-based scholarships, and this is done through the Office of Admissions when you apply to Syracuse. The merit scholarships are not need-based, and then we also have Syracuse grant monies, which are need-based, and so you need to fill out the FAFSA profile as well as the CSS profile to be considered for either one of those.
If that doesn't answer your full question, feel free to ask more. But in addition to emailing orange@syr.edu, you can ask an admissions counselor between 7 and 8 by text. So,
right, because there will be another live chat. However, it won't be a video chat, so you can ask there as well. We're slowly getting questions.
Here's another one.
Excellent.
What do you think of the dorm rooms? That's a hard question. Well, I don't think that dorm rooms are exactly expensive condos at any college campus. My experience was really good here at Syracuse. My first year I was in an open double, and it is, close quarters, and it takes some adjusting to, but overall the facilities themselves are really nice, and most of the dorm buildings, or the residence halls I should say, are either have been recently remodeled or are currently being remodeled. So it's quite likely that if you're applying now to come next year or the following year, that you'll be in a recently renovated room. The second year I was in an RA and I had my own dorm room, and I must say that is very nice. So.
Can't say I got quite so lucky. I will just add that one of the best things about living on campus at Syracuse is that there are a lot of different options to choose from in terms of where you're going to live. As a first-year student, you start out in a residence hall, and you have the choice between an open double, which is what Max is in, a split double, which is a room that has a wall coming 3/4 of the way down the middle of it, so you kind of have your own separate side. And the third option is a quad, which is 2 open doubles with a common room in the middle. Once you've finished your first year, there are all sorts of other options. There are quads, there are triples, there are on-campus apartments, juniors and seniors tend to venture into off-campus apartments at some point, though not everybody does. So there's lots of different options that you can choose from. Where do you live right now?
I currently live on Westcott Street.
So off-campus.
Yeah, 4 or 5 blocks from campus, and in a single. I was living with others for a little while, and I decided I'd rather have to wash only my own dishes, so I migrated into a single this year.
Uh, well, one good thing is that if you do go onto the Syracuse University website, if you just go to syr.edu, you can, if you search virtual room tours, they will give you kind of a panoramic view of each room type that we offer on campus, as well as several of the different kinds of apartments. So that might be something you want to check out as well. And often the website that is for residential living, can't remember exactly what it's called, Office of Residential Life. There we go. You can also find the dimensions of the dorm rooms, so if you want to get an idea about how big those rooms will be, then you can take a look at that as well. It might be helpful.
I think they have floor plans too, so you can understand. Like if once you find out your room assignment, you could actually see where you are in relation to the bathroom or in relation to the entrance or exit.
Absolutely. I remember freshman year, my room was right across from the bathroom. It was nice and convenient. Thank you, I will. Someone's thinking about me.
Right. So feel free to ask questions while we're answering them, because it seems like right now everyone's waiting to ask a question until we finish. But you can. Oh, here they come.
All right, so the next question is, how is Syracuse athletic atmosphere, and how involved are the students when it comes to school sport support? That was a mouthful. Do you want to start it off?
Sure. I would say that Syracuse University isn't just about sports, and that you could come to Syracuse and not like sports at all and have an awesome experience. But I think having such great sports teams really supplement the college experience. It's so much fun, and it's so great to wear orange. Personally, I've had season tickets to both basketball and football games every year that I wasn't in the band, and it's so fun to go to the games and cheer the teams on with your friends. There's so much school spirit here. As Mel said earlier, you really bleed orange. If you don't when you get here, you will by the time you graduate.
Yeah, and I think one of the cool parts as well is that we do have a really strong Division I program. However, there are club sports and intramural sports that people get really involved in as well. And so that's a good thing too.
Do you know if you offer direct freshman admittance to the Doctorate of Physical Therapy? I do not know that.
Nope, I do not have a good response to that question either. So, Jody, I'm going to suggest that you ask this question between 7 and 8 o'clock. There will be admission counselors available in another live text chat. So I would check in with someone then. Ooh, they're coming now.
Why Syracuse versus any other school? So I kind of answered this question earlier, but I'll reiterate. I chose Syracuse mostly because my mom's a faculty member here and I grew up close to Syracuse, but I think Syracuse is great because of the giant array of opportunities, academic, social, for fun, sports, anything you can imagine, anything you could ever want to do, you can do at Syracuse. If we don't have a group for you, you can create one with a few friends and a faculty advisor, and there's so many opportunities to just get into the city, to volunteer, or to have fun. There are so many opportunities to get off the campus. I've been whitewater rafting. I took a fencing course here. I took a class about food.
Fun.
I've taken so many different things that I think if I had went to a school, again, I study engineering. Had I gone to a school that was just, or at least mostly engineering, I wouldn't have had so many opportunities.
Well said. All right, so the next question is, what do people do on the weekends for fun at Syracuse? Well, there's definitely an array of different responses that we could give to that. Some examples, of course, a lot of students are involved in different organizations and different sports teams on campus, and that takes up a bit of your time if you get involved with that on the weekends. Um, and there are a lot of events that Syracuse sponsors throughout the year. For example, at the end of April, we have a big concert called Mayfest that we throw every year, and so that's something that students really, really enjoy. What kind of things do you do on the weekend?
This too is, it kind of goes back to what I just said. There are so many opportunities. So the university tries really hard to reach out to every student. There are so many things to do on the weekends. The box office here on campus sells discount tickets to the movies. We have an ice skating rink just on South Campus, so you can go ice skating. There are constantly events in your residence hall. RAs plan programs just about every single weekend, so there's something for you to do. If it's kind of like if it's a movie or games, or there are so many different things to do to have fun. Concerts and speakers, and there are trips to, with the outing club travels every single weekend. They go either hiking or backpacking or canoeing or climbing every single weekend. So there's really something for everyone to do on the weekends.
Yeah, and I think it gets, I think you ask yourself that less and less when you really start to adjust to campus and you really start to meet people and get involved in things, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you're doing as long as you're with the people that you enjoy. And definitely as an upperclassman, I can say that I have a really tight-knit friend group, and that's something that sometimes we won't even be doing anything and we'll just, still have a great time. So I think that becomes an easier question to ask as you progress through your time at Syracuse.
What type of student would or wouldn't fit at Syracuse? And I would tell you, personally, given my experience, that every student would fit here. I could just say the same things again and again, but there's something for everyone, and everyone is welcome here. I have friends of every race, every ethnicity, every background, from all over the world, and I've never met someone who didn't enjoy their time here because they felt that they didn't fit in. Even, I personally experienced this twice, both as as a freshman coming into a residence hall, and then as an RA watching 20 of my personal residents and then 300 of the residents in my building really, find themselves and find friends over time. So I think no one watching, period, should worry about whether or not they would fit at Cuse or fit in with the people here or the atmosphere. We have a question about workload. How difficult is it? So the viewers out there are listening to two students on campus who probably have some of the toughest workloads on campus. So we're students of a different major here. They would certainly give you completely different questions. I must say, as an engineering student, I have a pretty time-consuming and difficult workload. Maybe not the most difficult of engineering in that school, but it varies so much. It depends on what you're good at and what you end up studying, and whether or not you procrastinate, how many naps per day you take. All of those things come into play. If you want to ask a question regarding the workload for a major or a program that you think we may, given what we've said so far, have some experience with, feel free to ask more.
Absolutely, because it's very dependent on what college you're in and then what program you're in. So a more specific question, we would definitely be able to give you something else.
How much free time do we have? So right now, as a second semester senior, I have more free time now than I've ever had. Although I will say that I went my entire college career never not having Friday classes. So many of my friends have Fridays off, and I never have. So
I feel you on that.
So it depends on what your major is, but you may or may not be able to look forward to having Fridays off. I think that as you acclimate to college life, you learn to balance well sleep, having fun with friends, doing your work, and so much of it, your free time, depends on your whether or not you play a sport, what groups you're in, if you consider that free time or structured time, and really how quickly you can get your work done.
Right. The next question is, how comfortable are the classes at Syracuse? And I'm guessing this question means in terms of Do you feel comfortable participating and do you feel comfortable being in class? Coming from an education student, my classes are all now fewer than 30 students, and typically, as you progress in any particular program, your courses for your major are going to get smaller and smaller. And that's really beneficial because not only do you see similar people in class semester after semester, so you can form relationships, study groups, things like that. So that's definitely a really powerful resource to have. To be honest, your comfort level is going to depend on who you are and definitely the course and how comfortable you feel with the content. There are definitely a lot of factors. I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I would only add to that. I agree with everything Mel said. I think comfortability in class may or may not have to do with how well you like or feel comfortable with the professor. So, as you progress through your program, you'll likely have the same professors a few times. So it's a really good idea to try to get to know them, make sure they know who you are. If you work hard, then they won't have any reason not to like you or to want to help you succeed. Um, Personally, I've never been uncomfortable in a classroom. We have another question really similar to this next. How big are the classes freshman year, and do most freshmen get early classes? So the class sizes vary drastically. You'll have some large classes. Intro to classes like Intro to Biology or Intro to Sociology or Intro to Chemistry, those are generally really large classes. They can have upwards of 200 to 300 students in them in a large lecture hall. And that's just because so many different majors have to take that same class. So I took, say, Intro to Chemistry with all of the chemistry majors and all of the bio majors and all of the engineering majors. And as you progress, as you approach senior year, your classes will get smaller and smaller. The most freshmen get early classes. I'm not entirely sure what you mean. It's maybe whether or not freshmen can register for classes before others, or if you mean early in the day. Brianna, if you want to clarify, or we could just answer both. If you mean by time of day, I would say that there's no rhyme or rule. Generally, classes for me have been 9:30 to 5. Sometimes, if you're unlucky, you'll have to have an 8 a.m. But I don't think they structure them that freshmen have to have those 8 a.m. classes. It's just the luck of the draw and the way everything fits together.
And what you'll notice is that when you come to Syracuse, for a lot of your liberal arts core classes, there's going to be a bunch of different times that course is offered. There might be one at 8 a.m. because there are people who like to go to class early, get it done, and there are other people who would prefer to have a 3 o'clock class or a 12 o'clock class maybe. So you'll notice that some courses are offered at multiple times during the day and on different days so that students, it can be flexible with student schedules. So, and that all varies from semester to semester, so it would depend on the course for sure.
And now that I've read this again, it makes more sense. I'm sure you were asking about the time of day, but since I brought it up, I'll answer this now. In terms of registering for classes, freshmen unfortunately do not get to register before upperclassmen, but I've personally never had a problem getting in a class in my college career. So you're not competing against other classes for other years for the same class. So you shouldn't have any problems registering for classes. And professors are really accommodating. If the class is full and you really need it to complete your major, they'll usually let you in, or it's all you can finagle it. So.
And one thing that's definitely good is that you're going to register for your courses before you even come to campus. So once you're accepted, people in your college on campus will contact you at some point over the summer, and they will give you information about registering online. That way you don't have to stress about registering for courses when you get to campus during orientation week. So that's already done for you.
Ooh, a tough question. John's asking, what is the one thing we would change about the school?
It's always the hardest question.
To be entirely honest, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but it's not because... it's mostly because I just tend to drink from glasses that are half full instead of half empty. So, I don't know. I'll have to think about that. And
you're definitely very used to it here. So.
Yeah, I think I would have to think, and then, John, if we think of something, we can come back to you.
One thing that I have is if I could remove any aspect of this campus, I would take away the wind. I'm not a huge fan. I'm one of those people with like 3 hoods on and, all layered up because I don't want my face to get whipped by the wind. So that's one of the things about being experiencing the lake effect, because there are lakes around here. So that's one thing I would change.
David's asking about what happens if you've already taken college classes, like intro to psychology or intro to business. What would your schedule would be like? So I can't speak for either of those classes because I haven't taken them, nor am I in a program that requires me to take them. But I will tell you about my personal experience. I came in with not too many college credits. I had 8 credits of college level Spanish, and I got 4s on both the AP Calculus AB and AP Calculus English Literature test. So by doing that, I got credits for all of those classes, and I was able to get out of 2 writing courses. So if you bring in credit, it depends so much on the circumstances, but Syracuse often accommodates transfer credits or an AP credits. I didn't take it, but I think there's
Right.
IB.
In general, when you're taking college courses, either in high school over the summer or something like that, as long as they are general liberal arts courses like Introduction to Psychology or a biology course or a writing course like Max took the AP courses, those will almost always transfer. If you get, I believe it's a B minus or better, but I would just clarify that with one of the admissions counselors about what grade you need to get. For those of you who might be taking APs or thinking about taking APs and you're wondering whether those credits can get transferred, like Max said, they can. One place that you can check is that if you go onto the admissions website, there is a tab that will give you this whole chart laid out, and it will tell you exactly what you need to get on the AP test for that particular course in order to get the credits to transfer to Syracuse. So I would check that out as well.
Have either of us participated in a learning community? Has there any? If not, have you any info? Do you have any info? They sound very interesting. Yeah, I can speak to that. I wasn't in a learning community my first year, but I was an RA in the STEM college, that's science, technology, engineering, and math, and there were learning communities in that hall. And I think that there are pros and cons. It's really an awesome opportunity to do things in addition to normal programming, events, and fun things to do inside the residence hall. You can really expand that. I know learning community resident advisors who did field trips, and they did fun things that they knew would apply to the interests of their own students. So how it'll work is, for those of you who aren't familiar with learning communities, while you're applying, you can request to be in a learning community, and it's a group of students who all live on the same floor, and sometimes it's by major, sometimes it's by interest. I don't know of too many outside of STEM, but I do know someone they were in the outdoor pursuits learning community, and they really loved it because they lived with other outdoorsy type of people, and they got to take field trips, they did hiking trips. I would say that the con is, it depends on your personality. You may or may not like to live with people that you have a lot of classes with. I can say that it'll depend. If it's like an outdoor pursuits one, it's unlikely that you'll all be in the same major. But in the science, technology, engineering, math learning communities, so many of those students had all of their classes, and they lived with the same students every day, all year. So it became taxing, I think, on a personal level, to just be with the same people all of the time. If you make good friends and you like the people you live with, then that's great, but it could be that could be a disadvantage.
Right, I agree.
All right, we have a question that might be for admissions, but the application deadline says it's past due, but is Syracuse accepting applications on a rolling basis?
Syracuse does not accept applications on a rolling basis. However, to just clarify and be positive about the due dates, this is a question that I would ask an admission counselor during the live text chat between 7 and 8. Sorry about that.
What types of housing does Syracuse offer? So I'll take this one because Mel's throat is sore and she's done it once already. So Syracuse University has a 2-year living commitment on campus. So your very first year, you'll be placed in a residence hall randomly. We used to do a sort of survey that you kind of filled in your personality traits, and they would try to match you, but it proved to be ineffective. You have some residents or some students it worked for and others it didn't, and they proved that it was inconclusive. Anyway, the first year you'll be in a residence hall with a random roommate. You'll be in either an open double or a split double. Like Mel said, an open double is one room with two beds, two dressers, two desks, and you share the space. A split double is you have a dividing wall that goes 3/4 of the way through, so you're in the same room with one door and one lock, but you kind of have your own space. That's nice if you like appreciate your privacy, but I find that split doubles tend to be a little bit more confined because the same it's the same sized room, so there's a little less room to rearrange. The second year, you can either live in a residence hall again, or you can move to what's called South Campus. You'll learn more about this if you're an incoming freshman. All that's really important is that you need to know is that you're going to live in a residence hall. But anyway, second year you can move to South Campus, and then your third and fourth years you could live in either. You're guaranteed housing all 4 years, but most students tend to migrate towards off-campus housing, which are just regular houses. You get 4 or 5 friends, and you have your own place. You pay your own utilities and rent, and you just a short walk from campus. Any other questions you have about housing, feel free to ask more clarification or specificities because we both have a lot of experience with that.
Definitely.
How big is the campus? Do most freshmen have trouble finding where their classes are and any other things? The campus, comparatively, is pretty large. I would say that you could walk from one side to the other, maybe from Ernie Davis Hall to the Dome, and what do you think, like 10, 15 minutes tops?
If you're trying to go from farthest point to farthest point on campus, your worst case scenario is like 15 minutes.
Yeah, but for the most part, most buildings are relatively close together. A lot of the academic buildings are all in the same area. As for trouble finding classes, I would say that is a potential problem when you're getting to know the university. I would highly suggest if you come here, and if you go to any school really, it doesn't matter where you go, but come to Syracuse, of course. It's a good idea to either the week before or the weekend before, if you're on campus before the semester starts, to go find your classes before the first day. It's a good idea to just, get to know the campus, walk around, and make sure that you know where each class is. It'll take away a lot of stress the first day when you're trying to hurry and you're nervous. After a little while, though, after your second or third semester, you know exactly where everything is. So
many of you are also going to have peer advisors who will contact you over the summer. This does depend on which college on campus you're in, how this system works. I'm a peer advisor in the School of Ed, and I know that I have about 7 or 8 students in my group every year, and during orientation week I bring them on a tour of campus so that they know where their classes are, and this is something that, of course, if you know an upperclassman, if you make friends in your dorm, like Max said, it's something that's a really good idea to do before classes start. But many of you will have resources like peer advisors to talk to, and they can help you out with that as well.
Alright, so we're about halfway through, so you still have half an hour to ask questions. And I have one here from my sister. How much does Syracuse have available in their dining halls for vegetarians and vegans? And she knows me well. I've been a vegetarian all 3 years on campus, and it's really, really great. Syracuse University tries really hard to offer dining options for everyone, be it gluten-free, vegan, vegetarian, kosher. There are options for everyone. And the types of food offered in each residence hall varies a little bit, but for the most no, not for the most part. Every single meal there is a vegetarian option and a vegan option, so that isn't a problem whatsoever. How much does it cost overall to be at Syracuse?
This is highly dependent on whether you're getting any merit-based scholarships or whether you're getting any need-based financial aid. This would be an excellent question to ask during the live text chat between 7 and 8 o'clock, just because we probably can't give you exact numbers, and I would definitely ask that question then, and somebody will be able to help you out.
Here's a tough question here. Would you do anything differently in college? And what's the best advice you could give to an incoming freshman? Of course, hindsight's 20/20, so there are a number of things I would change. I would say I had a pretty rough first year roommate experience, and if I could do it again, I would have stood up to him, and I would have been a lot more happy my first year. Um, Other than that, I don't really I can't think of anything.
This kind of combines both questions, but I didn't add my Spanish major until second semester freshman year. And it put me a little bit behind in terms of finishing what I needed to finish because I have a double major and because I'm in the major that I'm in. So usually that won't be the case, but for me it was. The reason why I decided not to take Spanish is because I was very intimidated by taking language courses in college, and I was terrified that I was going to be really bad at it. And so I would just say to all of you who are having those thoughts, just go for it. Worst comes to worst, you take a class and it's really hard, or you don't like it and you can drop it, or you can find something else that would be more interesting for you to take. So I would just say that's a piece of advice I would give you moving forward no matter where you go to school.
I just thought of something else about what I'd do differently. In high school, I was really, really active in so many other things because I went to a small school, so I played in multiple bands. I was on multiple sports teams. I acted in performances, and I'm an Eagle Scout, so I did all of these different things. And then when I got to college, I wanted to do really well, and I did. I had a really high GPA the first 2 years I was in school, but I really felt like I missed those things. I didn't play a sport whatsoever. Granted, I did play the saxophone in a pep band, but I didn't perform anywhere else, and I really grew to miss those things. So if I could do anything differently, I would say don't forget about the things that you like to do for fun, and try to incorporate them into your schedule if possible. Because if you don't leave any room for them, you won't find room for them. As for advice overall, I would say that um, coming to college it's almost like a blank slate. You can be whoever you want to be, and you can. You don't have your parents here. You don't. No one here knows you. So just be yourself and have fun and be willing to try new things, and realize that everyone is in the same exact boat as you. So everyone else is nervous. Everyone else is wondering whether or not they're going to make friends. Everyone's in the same boat. So as long as you come into it with a good attitude, you take advantage of every opportunity the university gives you that you want to participate in, and I'm sure you'll have an awesome time here.
And one piece of advice that comes off of what Max said: learn how to manage your time, because that will allow you to fit everything in.
In our opinion, how is the food on campus and on Marshall Street? Um, so like I said earlier, I'm an optimist. So when I go into the dining hall, I'll drink from glasses that are full. And some of my friends, however, and some of the students who live on my floor drink from glasses half empty. I really thought the food here was great. They do their absolute best to source things local. They change up the menu quite a bit. It's impossible to make every single student happy because so many mouths need to be fed in a dining hall, and at any hour of the day the food needs to be ready and hot. So of course it's not going to be like your mom's cooking, and of course it's not going to be eating at a restaurant, but you'll find the things you like. And I think the food, when I lived in a residence hall for 2 years, I had not a single complaint. As for the food on Marshall Street, if those of you who aren't familiar with the university or the surrounding area, Marshall Street is a short street of restaurants really close to the campus. We have everything from Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts. There's a Chipotle, a Yogurtland. There's a Chinese restaurant. I believe there's a Middle Eastern restaurant.
There's Thai food.
Thai food. There's pitas. There's subs. Everything you could really want, you could find on Marshall Street, and they're open nearly every hour of the day. And most of those places deliver too. So if you want to grab a bite to eat, for lunch or on the weekends, Marshall Street is a really great place to go for that. What percent of students live off campus their junior and senior years?
I can't give an exact number. However, I can say that a pretty significant majority of seniors certainly live off campus. You'll still find, a good amount of juniors on campus, but...
Yeah, I would agree. If I had to guess, I would say 80% of the people I know, maybe even more, who are juniors and seniors live off campus. Just because I think don't get me wrong, I had an awesome experience living in a residence hall the 2 years I did, but afterwards you're ready to move on. It's nice to have your own. Depending on where you're placed, you may or may not have your own bathroom. It'll be nice to have your own bathroom. It's nice to have your own kitchen. It's nice to not be affected by other students. It's nice to be able to come and go as you please. So most students migrate to off campus their last 2 years. We have a question about the deadline for making early decision at SU, and that's another question you'll want to ask an admissions officer. And again, you can do that by emailing orange@syr.edu or texting. There's a live text chat from immediately following this from 7 until 8 tonight.
All right. Wow. Honestly, how is college different from high school in terms of curriculum and just the people? In my opinion, I think the people get a lot more mature in college in some ways, and that's definitely a good thing. Take over for me.
Um, well, in terms of curriculum, it's really different because for the most part, you study. It is what you'd like to do for the rest of your life, or at least what you think you want to do. So, and depending on where you went to high school, whether it was a tech school or a private school or a public school, it's likely that you took classes all over the board, and it's likely that the teachers you've had multiple times and they knew your name. I would say that in college, no one's going to hold your hand. No one's going to feed you the material on a silver spoon or a silver platter. Everyone's going to. You need to put in the work. You need to work hard. You need to, take responsibility for learning the material. And if you need help getting a tutor or asking the professor or asking the TA, I can't say whether or not the curriculum is easier or harder because it's so dependent on what you did in high school. As for the people, I would say that my experience at college has been so awesome in terms of people, but it was awesome in my hometown too. I grew up in a town where everyone looked the exact same. Everyone, I just mean in terms of in race and ethnicity, and it was a very small town feel. Everyone knew everyone. It was very, not gossipy, but it was very small town-esque, and that has its benefits. Whereas when you come to college, you'll meet people from different countries every day. You'll meet someone from a totally different background than you. You'll have professors who are of a completely different background than you. Overall, I mean, the people vary just like they do anywhere else. You're going to meet some people you like, and you're going to meet some people you don't like. But in college, I will say it's a heck of a lot easier to find the people you like because
Right.
there's probably a much wider array of people here than there were at your high school. Because there's, I think, 3,800 per class.
Right, and you have a lot more choice about who you're going to spend your time with because there are 13,000 undergrad students here. And so you get to choose what you're going to get involved with, who you're going to spend your time with, and that's something that will change too.
How many minors have you ever heard of someone having? As for minors, it's really dependent on which college you're in. Some colleges it's easier to have dual or double majors or a minor. The most I've ever heard, I think, do you know Tim? I think he had 4 majors or 5.
I've heard of 3 minors and a major. I've heard of 3 majors. That's the most I've ever heard of, but I'm sure there are outstanding circumstances. Who knows?
It really depends on your college as well. Certain things pair really well. Like it might be easy if you're interested in studying in the College of Arts and Science. Well, then it'll probably be easy to pick up another major in a different college. Some things go hand in hand really well. As for engineering, if you're interested in that, it's nearly impossible to do 2 majors, but relatively easy to pick up a minor.
All right, I'm going to try and get through this question without losing my voice. The next question is, how prominent is Greek life? I don't know if I'll be able to do it. 25% of our overall student body is involved in Greek life in some way. There's a lot of different options. There are professional, academic, community service, and then social frats and sororities. Can you go?
Sorry, I looked away for a second. She was covered 20%, and she said honors, social,
Yep.
and academic fraternities. Greek life, it's hard to say how prominent it is because Some if you walk by the row of houses, then you'll think it's really prominent. Other times you may not interact with someone who's in any type of group like whatsoever. So I would say that if you could fit in either doing either. If you're interested in being in a fraternity or sorority, well then this is a great school for you because we have a large number and there are certainly pros to being in one. The people I know who are in Greek life, it's their absolute favorite thing about being here. Also, as for me, I am not affiliated with any type of Greek life, and I love coming to school here just as much. So,
Yeah, it's definitely. Wow. I'm not even gonna try.
like athletics, like I said, you don't need to be a sports fan to enjoy your time here. And if you're interested in, in Greek life similarly, um, it goes either way, is what I'm saying. I think we've covered the question. Um, I'll live far away from Syracuse, so I don't think I'll be seeing people there from high school. Was it the same for you? Do you like having a clean slate and not knowing anyone from high school? Um, yeah, I think I had a really great circumstance. I live just an hour from home, so you'd think it's really close, so I would, but Syracuse University is almost like a city in itself, so I see no one that I knew in high school except for one girl I went to high school with. She studies in the college on the other side of campus, and I haven't seen her in a month, which reminds me I should probably text her to get lunch. But you I think it's an awesome experience. If you have a tight knit group of friends from high school, it may be hard to adjust to having to meet new people. For me, I really enjoyed having the clean slate and meeting new people. Um, Depending on how far away you live, it will really depend. I have friends from California who have had a hard time, at least the first few semesters, but I also had a student who lived 15 minutes away. He was one of my residents, and he got homesick all the time. So it really depends. But like I said earlier too, it's nice to come to college and to get to be who you want to be and kind of start over and not have any judgment or expectations and getting to be yourself. Is there anything you would change about the classroom environment and or academic system of the school?
Wow.
That's a really tough question. In terms of classroom environment, that too was really, really dependent on your college. I would say that in the engineering school, we have some classrooms that have the newest technology and they're really nice and comfortable. We have others that are, older because the buildings in Syracuse University are, a lot of them are upwards of 100 years old. So it really depends. The comfort of the classroom will really depend. In terms of the academic system of the school, I don't know. I think we could probably both write a paper on that and have different opinions. I think, as in everything, it really depends on the college and what you make of it. That's the best I can do for that question. It's really hard. Hi, Gabby. Oops, sorry. Like if it will meet total financial for me attending the school. We have a question here about aid, need-based aid, and whether or not it'll cover the total cost of attending the school. At least I believe that's what the question is asking. And the answer to that is it depends. Again and again, it depends. But I know people here who pay very little based on need-based college, and I also know a lot of students who get no need-based financial aid. So that's another question you'll want to ask either a financial or an admissions counselor or somebody in the bursar's office. We have a question here. I'll read Eric's words. I've heard and read that Syracuse is a party school. Is it truly a party school? And if you don't like to party heavily, do you feel out of place or bored? In all honesty, I'll be careful when I say this because I don't know who's watching. But the truth is that you can and do or will not party at Syracuse, but it's at any other school. You'll read online that we are the number something private, party school in the nation, and that may paint a picture that Syracuse University is just about
Max
partying.
is
But
saying that if you want to find it, you will find it. However, there are tons of other options. Like,
yeah, anything, exactly that. If you want it, you can find it, but that's true for any other school. You know, you will not feel out of place. I don't believe you will if you don't like to party heavily. I've said it already this hour. There are tons of opportunities. We have, an ice skate rink just south of campus. We have the movies. There's constantly, events on campus, concerts, and there are programs in your residence halls.
you also have the city of Syracuse. There's the third largest mall in America, Destin USA, which is about 15 minutes from campus. There's the downtown area, which has a lot of restaurants that are amazing. And so there's opportunities within the city of Syracuse as well.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, you could say that any school is a party school, and that you will not feel out of place if you come to Syracuse.
Just a reminder that we have about 10 minutes left, so we'll get through as many questions as we can. If they don't get answered, feel free to ask them from 7 to 8 in the live text chat.
We have a question here about whether or not Syracuse is a difficult school to get into. It really depends on the types of other schools that you're applying to, be it public or private, and it also really depends on the program you're trying to apply to. So if you're trying to get into Newhouse, then yeah, you could say that it's highly competitive and only the best students will get in. The same is true for the Bandier program. I think they accept just a dozen students out of several hundred applications. So as a whole, I think the best bet would be for you to either check out an online resource to see our percentage rates,
Right.
our acceptance rates, I mean.
And if you're interested in the acceptance rates in terms of exact percentages for each college on campus, you can certainly ask that in the live text chat, and the admission counselor will be able to give those numbers to you.
Another question, is there as much work given in college as everyone says there is? Again, it depends on your program. In engineering, I think there is an awful lot of work. Really, it depends whether or not you'll have more work than you had in high school. It's just so hard to say for everyone out there. But I will say, I think it's likely that if you have an older brother or a friend, this is true for anything, be it college or any other experience, they'll may or may not exaggerate how much they're given. So don't stress, don't worry. You'll be able to manage. And if you're feeling overwhelmed about the amount of work, well, then you can always use the resources. Either TAs you can go to, the professor you can go to, you could get a tutor, you could have a study group. So I wouldn't worry about the workload.
And it's all relative to what else you're involved with on campus, too, because that will obviously take up some of your time.
I'm just looking for. Everyone's worried about Melanie South. Okay. How many? Sorry, which one did you want to answer?
The one above that.
This one?
Yep.
What internships are offered here? Also, what are some companies that conduct job fairs at SU? Only one college on campus requires students to have an internship before they graduate, and that's the Whitman School of Management. So you'll definitely have an internship period. As for other programs, it depends, but I would say that there are a huge variety and opportunities to get internships. I can really only speak for engineering, but the Career Services Office in our building is awesome, and they try really hard to help you get a job. Each college has their own Career Services Office, but in addition, the university has a university-wide, and I've done a mock interview through them, so I went in there and I pretended like I was interviewing with a company, and I've also had my resume reviewed there by a professional in the field of engineering. As for internships specifically through the college, I think those are really dependent on. If you're asking that question, you may have already know of one. There are certain ones like the internship to the Olympics through Newhouse, or there may be some that are set through the university. But for the most part, internships you find on your own, you apply for with the support and help of your Career Services Office. As for the companies that conduct job fairs here, I would say that no. At least given my experience, no one company will do a fair, but we have career fairs. Every college has their own, so there'll be tons and tons of employers in that field, and then we also have a university-wide career fair, which is, companies of every sort, and it takes place in the Carrier Dome, and it fills nearly the entire turf field, the size of a full football field. So a lot of companies, nearly everyone you can imagine, likely comes here.
And of course, these internships sometimes happen during the academic year, and sometimes they happen during the summer. So there's different opportunities you can look for.
Is community service mandatory? If it is, it's going to be in your academic program, but most aren't. Only, I think, maybe policy studies and a few others have required volunteer service. I know my brother does, and he's a dietetics major. So it's dependent on your major. You can figure that out, I'm sure, by checking out the website of your college. Is it similar or different to community service outside? That too, I would say that a lot of the community service you do will be outside the university. There are opportunities in say as to education or literacy corps or tutoring, and a lot of those happen in the city of Syracuse. So you'll get on a bus and go down there. I volunteer in a program where we do kind of like science fair experiments with Syracuse City School District 8th graders, I believe. So that should answer the question.
And it's a good time to bring up Scholarship in Action as well. Some of you may be familiar with Scholarship in Action. It's essentially the heartbeat to Syracuse University. It's kind of what we live by, and it's the idea that we're gaining all these skills on campus and getting all this knowledge. And the idea of Scholarship in Action is to use that to make connections with the local community, the global community. A lot of students study abroad. I'm in Syracuse City schools every semester. It depends on your major, but there's lots of different ways to get involved and connect with the community. So.
We'll try to, since we have just 4 minutes left, we'll try to answer questions really quickly. How many clubs do we have? We have over 300. You can find a complete list on the Syracuse University website. And if we don't have a club you're looking for, well, then all you need to create one is a few friends with a common interest, a constitution, and a faculty advisor. And then you can make your own group. So we have everything from all types of political groups, college Republicans, Democrats, all sorts of religious affiliated groups, all sorts of service groups, all sorts of hobby groups. I recently refounded the juggling club. Everything you can imagine, we have a group for it. Popular majors that SU offers, we've got so many, just about all. That's another good thing. That's a good question you can answer for yourself by checking out the website. You can find the entire list of majors. What else?
Are there any religious services available on campus? Yes, there are. We do have a non-denominational chapel on our campus, and there's... Keep going.
So we have the largest non-denominational chapel on a college campus, and we offer a large number of religious services on campus every single week. So regardless of religion, you'll likely be able to find a place of worship on campus. If you don't, however, and there's one in the city of Syracuse, then the university will transport you to that nearest place of worship free of charge. So Syracuse University accepts and embraces every religion here. That's a Newhouse related question. What majors do you recommend for an aspiring journalist if they do not get into Newhouse? You're asking the wrong people, I think. Newhouse is highly competitive, as we said earlier. And what majors do you recommend for an aspiring journalist? Oh, I think if you'd like to come to Syracuse but you don't get into Newhouse, what would you study if you want to be an aspiring journalist? And I don't feel qualified to answer that question because I have no expertise in journalism. What do you think?
One thing I can suggest is there are a lot of students who come into the College of Arts and Sciences undeclared, who then do an inter-university transfer to get into Newhouse. That is a possibility, and I would ask further questions about that in the live text chat.
All right, so we have just 2 minutes, and I think we've answered all these questions. So if you have a really short last-minute question, you want to cram it in, type it quick, and we'll try to answer it.
We missed one. What is the minimum GPA requirement for Syracuse? The data isn't in for those who have been accepted as of this year because obviously they're still working on reviewing applications. I believe that last year's average GPA for the incoming freshman class was a 3.6.
How many colleges are there in Syracuse, and what is the average class size? I don't know the number of colleges off the top of my head. What is it, 8 or 9?
I believe it's 9.
I think it's 9. You can check that out online. The College of Arts and Sciences is the umbrella college, so it covers those majors that aren't school specific, we have everything in that college from sociology to physics and chemistry. So that's that. The average class size, it's so dependent on your college and where you are in your college career. Like we said earlier, class sizes can be quite large in the beginning because a lot of students are taking the same intro classes. They get smaller. Most classes by the end of your college career will be just those that are for your major, and that is the size of your class. So I take all of my classes now with just civil engineering students, and there are 80 of us.
And the average class size across campus is 25 students. And during the live text chat, I would ask about the 50-20 rule because that can give you more information.
All right, we'll take one last question and then we're going to wrap up. If you're enrolled in another college but want to minor in something in Newhouse, is it easy to do? To be entirely honest, I don't know. I know a few students in Newhouse, but I'm not sure whether or not they have minors. That's another good question to ask an admissions counselor.
All right, so we have run out of time. So, like we said, for I would forward any questions to the live text chat, and it was a pleasure to offer you some responses. Those were good questions.
All right, good luck during the application process if you're applying, and we hope to see you wearing orange on campus next year.